Bad Wildungen is a state-run spa and a small town in Waldeck-Frankenberg district in Hesse, Germany. It is located on the German Timber Frame Road. Geography. Location. Bad Wildungen lies in the eastern foothills of the Kellerwald Range in the so-called Waldeck Holiday region, 11 kilometers west of Fritzlar, and 35 kilometers southwest of Kassel. The town, which spreads out east of the Homburg, is crossed by the River Wild, which empties into the Eder at the constituent community of Wiege. The constituent communities of Wiege and Manden lie on the Eder, on which also lies the Eder Sea, a reservoir lying only about 10 kilometers northwest of the main town of Bad Wildungen. The River Eder flows through the southwest constituent communities of Hunsdorf, Armsfeld and Bergfreiheit. The nearest large towns are Kassel, Marburg and Korbach. Neighboring communities. Bad Wildungen borders in the north on the community of Edetl, in the east on the town of Fritzlar, in the southeast on the town of Bad Schwestern, in the south on the community of Heine, and in the west on the town of Frankenau. Constituent communities. Besides the main town, which bears the same name as the whole, the town of Bad Wildungen consists of the centers of Albertshausen, Armsfeld, Bergfreiheit, Braunau, Freibershausen, Hardingen, Hunsdorf, Manden, Odershausen, Reinhardshausen and Wiege. History. Bad Wildungen's first documentary mention came about 800 from the Hersfeld Monastery's goods directory under the name Villa Wildungen. This place lay in the Wild Valley, east of today's main town. About 1200, a castle was built by the Thuringian landgraves, around which Alt Wildungen developed. In 1242, Nieder Wildungen, which had been founded on the hill facing the castle, was granted town rights. From 1263, the castle and the two Wildungen towns were owned by the counts, later princes, of Waldeck, who only abdicated after the First World War. In 1358, the two Wildungen towns were mentioned. In 1906, the town of Nieder Wildungen was given a new name, Bad Wildungen. In 1940, Bad Wildungen was given the title of Preußisches Staatsbad. Witch trials. In the time when alleged witches were persecuted, 78 people in Bad Wildungen fell victim to witch trials. At the time, Wildungen had 1,200 inhabitants. The persecution came in waves of trials, 1532, 1629 to 1631 and 1650 to 1664. 1532 First witch trial against Gertrude Mark. 1575 to 1578 Persecution of witches. 1629 Onset of a period of unheard of persecution, 29 victims up to 1632. 1650 to 1664 a further 38 victims. 1630 Maria Rorig steadfastly withstood torture from September 1630 to May 1631. Dear God received her in prison, to him she would remain faithful. She is innocent like Jesus Christ. Count Christian ordered her release. 1656 Trial against Susanne Weber. Her husband asks that the trial be sped up owing to the costs. Amalgamations. The neighboring communities of Alt Wildungen, Rietzenhagen and Reinhardshausen were amalgamated in 1940. As part of municipal reform. The same was done in 1971 with Albertshausen, Armsfeld, Bergfreiheit, Braunau, Freibershausen, Hardingen, Hunsdorf, Manden, Odershausen and Wiege. Politics. Town Council. The Town Council's 38 seats are apportioned thus, in accordance with municipal elections held on the 26th of March 2006. Note: FWG is a citizens' coalition. The town executive consists of the mayor and 10 town councillors. 4 of these seats are held by the CDU, 3 by the SPD and 1 each by the FDP, the FWG and the Greens. Mayors at the mayoral election in 2006, the FDP's Volker Zimmermann was elected Bad Wildungen's new mayor with a 58% share of the vote in a runoff. He takes over as mayor from his predecessor Reinhard Grüneisen on the 1st of September 2006. Coat of arms. Bad Wildungen's civic coat of arms might heraldically be described thus, in sable an 8-pointed star, or Bad Wildungen's earliest known town seal was quite different, dating from 1258 and showing the Count of Thuringia, then the local overlord, astride a steed and kitted out as a knight. The current charge, which is the Star of Waldeck, is first known to have appeared in 1262. Some later seals also show a woman in the foot of the shield. The arms appeared with or without the woman over the centuries. In the 18th century, the colors were reversed. The arms were originally in or an 8-pointed star sable, to distinguish the town's arms from Waldeck's. Town partnerships. Bad Wildungen maintains partnership links with the following: Saffron Walden, Essex, United Kingdom since 1986. Yichun, Heilongjiang, China since 1988. Saint-Jean-de-Maurienne, Département of Savoie in France since 1990. Culture and sightseeing. Museums. Much that there is to know about the region lies waiting to be discovered in the Quellen Museum, the Heimat Museum, the Museum for Military and Hunting History of the Castle State Museums at Schloss Friedrichstein, and the museum at the former mining office and Berch Visitors Mine. Interested visitors should also have a look at the Living Museum in Odershausen, the Lapidarium and the Gallery im Kampf in Albertshausen. Theatric productions are performed at the Kurhaus Bad Wildungen. Music. Music can be experienced, among other ways, by attending a chamber concert at Schloss Friedrichstein, or going to the Wildungen Music Workshop, a generation-spanning choir. Furthermore, classical, jazz, samba and folk concerts of festivals regularly take place at the Kurhaus and the Schloss. Other events. In 2006, the third Hessian State Garden Show takes place in the town. There is a weekly country market in Bad Wildungen. Furthermore, there is a regularly held jazz festival in June, and mid-July brings Kram und Wehrmarkt, a fair with household goods and cattle markets. December is the time for a Christmas market. In September, there is either a samba festival or a flower parade. Buildings above Bad Wildungen stands a Baroque stately home, Schloss Friedrichstein, which was planned by Count Josias II in 1660 and completed between 1707 and 1714 by Prince Friedrich Anton Ulrich zu Waldeck. In the center stands a late Gothic evangelical town church from the 14th century. Inside is a winged altarpiece by Conrad van Soest. Furthermore, standing in the town centre and along the Brunnenallee are many villas from the founders' times. The Fürstenhof, an Art Nouveau building like a stately home, once a hotel, is today a clinic. Parks. Europe's biggest spa park. In the late 1990s, the Bad Wildungen Spa Park was connected by a green bridge, not natural but made to seem so, to the Reinhardshausen Spa Park, making one large park now regarded, at 50 hectares, as Europe's biggest spa park. Natural monuments. In the Hellenental foothills are found the Odershausen waterfalls, which are well worth seeing. Furthermore, in the woods near Odershausen, near the Jägersberg, stand 3 old dwarf beaches. Also, the Bilstein Cliffs near Riesenhagen tempt climbers. Bad Wildungen's local mountain, the 518 meters high Homburg, affords the visitor an outstanding panoramic view view. The municipal area's highest mountain, however, is the Wastergarten, located near Bergfreiheit, one of Bad Wildungen's outlying communities. It is disputed as to whether the peak is actually in Bad Wildungen, as the latest survey suggests that it is a few meters outside town limits. Das Paradies near Albertshausen is not simply called this. Hikers will also find this unique forest towards Gellershausen and Klein and to be something of a paradisiacal treasure. The 167 kilometers long Kellerwaldsteig, awarded with the distinction of one of Germany's 3 finest hiking trails, begins and ends in Bad Wildungen. In the former Foot of Aldovhallo in Albertshausen is a centuries-old beech forest. Sport in Bad Wildungen. There are 2 sport clubs, the VfL Bad Wildungen and the TV Friedrichshain. Both clubs have established football and handball associations. Bad Wildungen is also the host to the German Amateur Snooker Championship, which is the highest-ranking amateur snooker event in Germany. Culinary specialities. One Waldeck speciality is Schepperlinge, a kind of potato pancake traditionally served in Bad Wildungen with bacon, onions and black coffee. As is true more or less throughout northern Hesse, the so-called Wurst is an ever-popular dish. The name is Hessian dialect for alte Wurst, old sausage. Economy and infrastructure. The town's main field of economic activity is the spa and tourism business. Bad Wildungen is, however, slowly developing into an educational center. The Holzfachschule, the clinic's nursing schools, the Bringmann Academy, the Bildungszentrum Handel und Dienstleistungen e.V., and the Berufsakademie Nordhessen support this endeavor. Transport. Through the municipal area run the federal highways B485 and B253, which afford a connection to the Autobahn A49. Bad Wildungen can be reached by regional rail services from Kassel and Waben, terminating at Bad Wildungen station. A bus service was set up in Bad Wildungen a few years ago. Media. The regional daily newspapers of the Waldeckische Landeszeitung and the Waldeckische Allgemeine, a local edition of the Hessische Niedersächsische Allgemeine. Spa Wildungen is a therapeutic spa with springs that bring forth water containing iron, magnesium and carbonic acid. The times when visitors would partake of the waters have somewhat bygone now. More at the fore of medical rehabilitation nowadays are orthopedics, psychosomatic illness treatment, internal medicine, rheumatology, neurology, oncology and urology. Institutions for gerontological care are also important services. The yearly number of overnight stays in Bad Wildungen is roughly 1.4 million, making Bad Wildungen second only to Frankfurt among Hessian towns and cities with the most overnight stays. Education. In Bad Wildungen, alongside several primary schools, are a school for students with learning difficulties, a Hauptschule, Realschule and a gymnasium. Vocational education is done through the Hans Wiesmann Schule. The Berufsakademie Bad Wildungen offers the choice of a dual course of study alternating between theoretical and practical phases. Among the subjects offered are computer science and tourism. Personalities. Sons and daughters of the town: Renate Blum, German actress; Wilhelm Dillich, engraver. Other persons connected with the town: Trude Hopper Arendt, German painter; Philip Nicolai, songwriter and Lutheran court chaplain in Alt Wildungen; master of the Netz altar triptych, Gothic painter; Christoph Scheiboler, philosopher and theologian; Hans-Jürgen von Arnim, General and last Afrika Corps commander, died 1962 in Bad Wildungen. Berthold Reinemann, first known maintainer of the urban bathhouse in Wildungen, became on April 25, 1463. Erasmus Reinemann, pastor, theologian, part of the Waldeck Reformations 1580. The Wildungen Museum lists the town's many doctors, some of whom have become world famous.